Lunch money. This is lesson 2. If you haven't done lesson 1, you'll need to go and do lesson 1 first. You can find the story Lunch Money in Think Central if you'd like to hear the story in its entirety. Today we will analyze how visual elements contribute to the meaning of a text. Analyze means to examine. So that means we're going to look very closely at the visuals in this text. The visuals are the things you can see, the pictures, to be specific. So we're analyzing the visuals, and we're going to decide how they contribute to the meaning of the text. And contribute means add to. How does it help you understand the meaning of this text? Page 487. It was his love of comic books that had first gotten Greg interested in drawing. Comics had led Greg to books like How to Draw Comic Book Villains. You can draw superheroes, make your own comic book art, and draw the monsters we love to hate. Back in 3rd grade, Greg had used his own money to buy India ink, dip pens, brushes, and paper at the art supply store. And drawing new comic book characters was one of his favorite things to do when he wasn't earning money. That whole summer, before 6th grade, Greg had worked toward the launch of Chunky Comics. From the start, he had felt pretty sure he could come up with a story idea, and he knew he would be able to do the drawings. But first, he'd had to deal with a lot of hows. How does a whole comic book get put together? How big should each be? How is he going to print them? How much would it cost him to make each one? And finally, how much money should he charge for his finished comic books, assuming he'd actually make some? One by one, Greg had found the answers. An encyclopedia article about printing books had helped a lot. It showed how pages of a book start as one large sheet of paper that gets folded in half several times. Each time the sheet is folded, the number of pages is doubled. So Greg took a piece of regular letter-sized paper and folded it in half 3 times the way it showed in the encyclopedia. That one piece of paper turned into a chunky little 16-page book, Chunky Comics. It was so simple. So if I were to analyze the visuals on this page, I see money at the top, and it's actually on the top of several pages of this book, which makes sense to me because in the first paragraph, final sentence, the narrator says, drawing comic book characters was one of his favorite things to do when he wasn't earning money. The visual adds to the meaning of the story by showing me that Greg's top priority is making money. It's all over the book pages. I look at the visual at the bottom and I see a bunch of Greg's comic books on what looks to be his bed, which means even while in bed, Greg thinks about comics. He seems a little bit obsessed with comics. But not really. Greg figured out that making little comic books was a 10-step process. 1. Write a story that can be told on 12 to 14 mini comic book pages. 2. Sketch, draw, ink, and then letter all 16 mini pages, which include the front and back covers. 3. Paste 8 of the mini page drawings into their correct positions on a piece of paper to make Master Copy 1, a sheet that can be copied again and again. 4. Paste up the other 8 mini pages to make Master Copy 2. So now you will need to get out your Word document, which should be attached to this same assignment, and you will type your answers under each question. Question 1. How do the visuals in steps 1 through 4 contribute to your understanding of how to make comic books? Type your answer. 5. Using a copier, print the images from Master Copy 1 onto one side of a press sheet, a piece of letter-sized paper. Print Master Copy 2 on the flip side of the press sheet, making 8-page images on the front and 8 on the back. 7. Carefully fold the press sheet with the 16 copied mini pages on it. 8. Put in 2 staples along the crease at the very center of the little book, pages 8 and 9. Question 2. Get ready to type. How does each image help the reader understand how to make a comic book? 9. Trim the 3 unstapled edges and that makes one finished mini comic book. 10 repeat, and each of the 10 steps had to be done perfectly or no one would ever want to spend money on his little comics. Question 3. After viewing the steps on making a comic book, how did the visuals add understanding to the reader about Greg? Support your answer with specific details. Question 4. If you could add another picture to this text, what would you add? Explain what details would be included and how it would support the meaning of the text.